Just when you thought things could not get any worse for the entrepreneurial dump divers in the WNBA.
Just when you thought things couldn't get worse for Unrivaled.
Could not get any lower. America sends a clear message.
Hope for women's basketball. Reality hits harder than an air-all. This brand new league was supposed to be the next big thing, but it's crashing faster than a failed alley-oop. Empty arenas, rock-bottom ratings, and games that are about as exciting as watching paint dry. This is what Unrivaled is serving up right now. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Remember all that hype around Angel Reese? The so-called star power that was supposed to save women's basketball?
When it comes to money, when it comes to business, you cannot make decisions based on emotion.
She can't even fill a high school gym. When it comes to business, you can't make decisions based on
TNT lost their broadcast rights to the NBA. Several weeks later, they signed a 6-year agreement with Unrivaled worth $100 million.
This one's a classic case of emotional decision-making. Here's the backstory. Last year, TNT lost their NBA broadcast rights after more than 3 decades. So what did they do? A few weeks later, they signed a 6-year deal worth $100 million with Unrivaled. Now, you'd think that with that kind of money on the table, they'd know what they're doing. But let's break down exactly how this $100 million deal went from a dream to a nightmare.
A 6-year agreement with a startup. TNT gave $100 million to an unproven commodity. Well, actually, it was a proven commodity. We have 30 years of evidence that proves women's basketball does not draw on television. We have 30 years of evidence that proves Americans are not interested in women's basketball.
When Unrivaled burst onto the scene, promising to change women's basketball forever, it was like watching a new player get drafted to save the game. TNT had just lost the NBA, and they were scrambling for something, anything, to fill that basketball-shaped hole in their lineup. It's like they were at a party, and their best friend just ditched them. So, what did they do? They latched onto the first shiny new thing that came along, a 6-year deal with an unproven startup. TNT gave $100 million to something they couldn't even test drive. And here's the thing.
And TNT latches onto it.
It wasn't really an unproven commodity. We've got 30 years of data that shows women's basketball doesn't draw in television ratings. It's not a new discovery, it's a fact. The numbers have been there for decades. Yet Unrivaled marched in with promises of star power that were supposed to knock our socks off. Players like Angel Reese, Chelsea Gray.
When we talk about NFL ratings, how many times have we talked about watch hours on social media or watch minutes on social media? When we talk about ratings in cable news, how many times have we mentioned views on Instagram or Twitter? None. Why? Because it's not an accurate representation of popularity. Matter of fact, it can be incredibly misleading.
Despite all this star power, Unrivaled is failing to even come close to delivering on the hype. TNT had big hopes for Unrivaled, boasting a roster of players that were supposed to take the basketball world by storm. They thought they had a golden ticket and were waving it around for everyone to see. Sounds great, right? Well, here's where
they're interested in Caitlin Clark, which is why TNT offered her $1 million to join this polished turd. But in terms of the on-court product itself, people are not interested.
TNT started tossing out numbers like 3 million viewers and sold-out arenas, making it sound like they had struck gold. But hold on, those claims? Too good to be true. If you've been paying attention to women's basketball over the last 30 years, you know those numbers are a bit sketchy. From the outside, it looks like TNT might have made an emotional decision, one based on panic. After losing the NBA, they were desperate to find something to fill the gap. Then along comes Unrivaled, looking all shiny and new, and they latch on. But here's the...
Social media analytics can be misleading, which is why leagues that struggle in the ratings prefer to use them. Headline at USA Today, TNT announces that 3 million people tuned into Unrivaled during opening weekend. What? Excuse me? 3 million? Am I missing something?
This claim of 3 million viewers? It's about as real as a unicorn playing point guard. What we're seeing here is some serious number fudging. It's like they're counting every person who accidentally scrolled past a highlight on social media as a dedicated viewer.
According to my calculations, the first slate of games on Friday and Monday, they did not break 1 million viewers combined. And it's not just my calculations. Headline of the Sports Business Journal, Unrivaled averaging 204,000 viewers to date.
They're so eager to make the league look good that they're treating likes and shares like actual TV ratings. When we talk about the NFL, how many times do we mention social media views? Or when you hear about cable news ratings, are we ever counting Twitter or Instagram views?
No.
Because that's not a true reflection of a show's popularity.
In the span of 72 hours, Unrivaled lost over 60% of its audience. Their debut Friday night averaged around 311,000, which was bad enough. By the time we get to Monday, TNT was counting viewers by the dozen.
And be really misleading. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but what about all those big-name players they promised us? Surely, they're pulling in the crowds. Well, here's the kicker. Despite all the hype around players like Angel Reese and Chelsea Gray, fans aren't exactly rushing to their TVs to watch them play. It's like TNT promised us a 5-star meal, only to serve up a microwave dinner instead. Fans are more interested in Caitlin Clark, which is why TNT offered her $1 million deal to join. But in terms of the on-court product,
Angel Reese might be well known. Angel Reese may be a star on social media, but there's a huge difference between a star and a draw. The truth is, Angel Reese is not a draw.
Let's take a closer look at the marketing strategy. Unrivaled seems so focused on boosting their social media impressions that they're forgetting about actual TV ratings. It's like they're trying to win a popularity contest by buying followers. Sure, it looks good on paper, but it doesn't translate to...
I hope TNT has an out clause. I hope this contract was performance-based, because if it's not, TNT just threw $100 million into the abyss.
And trust me, these are not the kinds of stats anyone wants to brag about. You know how they say, numbers don't lie? Well, the numbers here are telling a story, and it's not a good one. We're talking about a ratings drop so steep it'll make your head spin. Take Unrivaled's opening weekend, for example. TNT claimed 3 million viewers tuned in. Hold up, 3 million? Am I missing something? The actual numbers from those opening weekend games? They averaged just 301,000 viewers. That's barely enough to fill a decent-sized college arena. But wait, it gets worse.
According to the media, this league is filled with star power. Check out these A-listers: Chelsea Gray, Joel Lloyd, Jackie Young, and the biggest star of them all, Angel Reese. These women are huge stars. Who, and who?
Than a bad shot in the fourth quarter. According to reports, the first slate of games on Friday and Monday didn't even break 1 million viewers combined. And the numbers keep falling. The Sports Business Journal reported that Unrivaled is now averaging just 204,000 viewers. Can you believe that?
The scariest thing is that the Rose and Lunar Owls game had 8
days. They lost over 60% of their audience. Some games are pulling
the biggest draw in the league.
Fewer than 200,000 viewers. The numbers don't lie. Unrivaled's viewership is taking a nosedive. After the debut game, which brought in around 311,000 viewers, the second game plummeted to just 187,000. And by the third, they were down to a meager 120,000. That's like...
The main reason Unrivaled is failing, they have not given you a reason to watch. The sport of basketball, it's similar to UFC, maybe professional wrestling. The game itself is not enough to draw the interest of the casual fan. In order for basketball to draw, you need two things.
Population of a small town tuning in. And here's the kicker. It's not getting any better. In less than 48 hours, the league lost over 60% of its audience. By the time Monday rolled around, TNT was counting viewers in the dozens. Now, you're probably asking, what's causing this massive ratings crash? Well, let's take a look at what's happening on the court. The Phantoms, one of the main teams in the league, aren't just losing, they're getting absolutely crushed. We're talking blowouts, so bad, they make the Harlem Globetrotters' opponents look like they have a shot. When fans are tuning out faster than you can say turnover, that's a problem. You might think, at least they've got star power, right? Enter Angel Reese, one of the biggest names in the league. But here's the harsh truth. All those Instagram followers? They're not translating into actual viewers. It's like having a million Facebook friends and no one shows up to your birthday party. Angel Reese might be a social media sensation, but she's not pulling in the numbers needed to make the league thrive. And that's a huge red flag for advertisers and sponsors. They're probably looking at these numbers and wondering if they've just flushed their investment down the drain. When your viewership is lower than some random YouTube unboxing video, that's not exactly a great sign for the future.